All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Cyberweek 2019, end of day one. This is our anchor session here in the afternoon with my good friend, Jonathan Verk. I know this is going to be a real humdinger of a presentation because Jonathan doesn't know how to go halfway. But I'm really glad you all joined us. We've had a really great day today. We started out this morning with a presentation from Nicholas from Columbia, and then we had the plenary session with Paul Embley. I got recordings of all these sessions, and I'm going to edit them tonight, and I'm going to put them into the agenda. So Jonathan's is going to be recorded as well, and we'll put it up. But I am a huge fan of the co-parenter platform. I've said this before. I said this on video. I think it's the best mobile ODR platform I've ever seen. I mean, it's just beautifully done, and it's mobile first. So many online dispute resolution platforms are website first, but the co-parenter platform. So you're going to be impressed when you see it. But Jonathan's an amazing guy. He's a real, he's had quite a career. There's not a lot of people in the dispute resolution field who also had very successful careers in tech. And one of the things that Jonathan did was, what was your position at Shazam, Jonathan?
Executive Vice President.
EVP, that's pretty up there. That is in the suite, as they say. So I don't know if you've ever used Shazam, but it's a little app on your phone where you can hold it up to a song and it'll identify what the song is. So you know, that was a unicorn, as we call it in the Valley, $1 billion company at one point. But Jonathan now is at the helm of co-parenter, and he's going to show us a lot of the information that he has about his intelligent dispute resolution. I was going to tell your story about NatP. Do you mind if I do that, Jonathan?
Not at all.
All right.
Let me relive it, man. It was 20-something years ago.
I'm looking at the press release right now.
It was 19 years ago.
19 years ago, 2000. How old were you? You were like 13 years old.
I was 13 years old.
So this was a competition. NatP is the National Association of Television Production Executives. And this conference was held in New Orleans in 2000. And there was an event, a pitch event at this giant, how many people were at this conference? Thousands and thousands.
16,000, 17,000?
16,000 people, 16,000 people. And Jonathan got up on stage, just a guy from Canada, up against all these heavy-duty television people, and he pitched his idea, which was called, Space Challenger, a home improvement game show that requires 3 contestants to compete by coming up with the best renovation and decoration scheme for a similar-sized room given a set budget. And of all of these people, Jonathan won this pitch competition, and it rocketed him into stardom, into influence. He was the big name, the hot kid, and that was when you moved out to California, right? Because it just you know, if you can win the NatP pitch competition, that's it. Sky's the limit. So,
if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, but Jonathan, he's a very funny guy. I mean, it's incredible experience in many different industries, but the co-parenter platform is really, really elegant and well done. And I'm delighted that we have him here today so that he can walk us through kind of the cutting edge of what he's been working on. So, Jonathan, let me hand it over to you, and you can take it over and show your slides.
Well, thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate that hilarious preamble. Yeah, no, it's been a pretty wild career. And I'll get into how I ended up in this space in just a minute. I want to make sure that the tech is working. Are you able to see my screen here?
No, we cannot.
Oh, how about that? Okay.
So if you go down to the bottom and click share, and then pick, there we go. Now
okay,
great.
Rock solid. Okay,
intelligent
cool.
dispute resolution, perfect.
Nice. Okay. Sorry. Let me just get situated here a little bit better. Okay, cool. So really appreciate it, Colin, and it is great to see everybody. There are a couple of familiar names and some that are not as familiar, which is terrific. It means that we're able to bring our message out to an even wider audience, and we're thrilled to be here. Congratulations, Colin, on yet another initiative that you've taken on, that you've made a success in bringing ODR and spreading the word of ODR through Cyberweek 2019. And I am really appreciative of the opportunity to share some of what we're doing here. Colin's right. We are Hyphenus. The name of our company is Hyphenus. We are a intelligent dispute resolution platform. fundamentally, intelligent dispute resolution differs from ODR, where ODR is really a technology that is used primarily, not in every case, but primarily, especially in the court context. ODR brings new levels of efficiency to the court system. It brings, you know, a time and cost efficiency to the courts in a way that has never been available before. IDR, on the other hand, focuses on the end user, on specifically that civilian who becomes a litigant, and so it's a consumer-facing product that focuses on people in complex relationships. Just for the context of this conversation, there are two kinds of relationships. There are transactional, there are complex. Transactional are where, you know, two people who don't know each other get into a dispute. That dispute will be resolved with a transaction of some kind, and they probably will go on with their lives not knowing each other. Complex relationships differ pretty fundamentally. Those are relationships in which people have a vested interest in the quality, the longevity, and the outcome of that relationship. So obviously, parenting is one of the big ones. You know, everybody wants what's best for their kid. But apartments, so landlord-tenant relationships, vendor-client relationships, HR, employee-employer relationships, and relationships between siblings who are managing elder care, all of these places where the relationship needs to stay in context and where courts traditionally they hinder those relationships, they don't optimize them. So intelligent dispute resolution is a tool that optimizes complex relationships with tools that help facilitate communication, scheduling, calendars, you know, et cetera. I'm going to get into with on-demand mediation, and then underpinning that that platform is artificial intelligence, machine learning, algorithms that learn not just how people fall into disputes, but how they settle those disputes, and so that we can predict and prevent future conflicts from happening. So just a quick note about us. We've been around for 4 years. We've been in R&D. We've been in various pilots in different courts and consumer-facing beta. Our tool costs $13 a month, $12.99 a month. It includes unlimited on-demand mediation. You can certainly get it for less. It's $200 a year if you want to buy an annual subscription. Like I said, we launched in April of this year. Since we started, we've resolved over 10,000 disputes. We've created over 7,500 full parenting plans. We estimate that an average cost of $13,000 a day to operate a court, which is research that's out of many places, including recently the Cyber Justice Lab out of Montreal. It costs $13,000 a day to operate a court, and a judge in the family sector has about 6 minutes to hear a case. We reasonably estimate that we've saved the court system about $2.2 million since we launched. Now, of course, you know, we're not going to recoup that money, but what we have done is we've empowered parents to make their own decisions, not bring them to court, so that judges and courts can focus on the matters of legal substance. And that's what this is really about. Because as great as it is bringing efficiency into a court system, isn't it better when we avoid those unnecessary cases from entering the court system altogether? So, we work with courts in a number of different ways. First of all, it's a consumer-facing app, period. We also work within the courts and jurisdictions, and the way that we do that is in 3 ways. Number one, we can come in and do a package where we decrease the cost of the subscription. You know, if the court has a sort of, you know, idea of how many cases come through the court, we can decrease the cost and make it very straightforward and simple. We can give them a custom brochure, a custom link off of their website, so that the court can actually track this data and have access to it via the onboarding process. We also work with courts who pre-purchase subscriptions. So we have a couple of jurisdictions who have done this. Where they'll come in and we'll give them a discount on those subscriptions, and they pre-purchase a set amount of subscriptions. They make some of them available to, sometimes the jurisdictions charge a fee for litigants to use it. Others they just give it to them for for nothing. At the end of the day, this is a cost savings mechanism. If again $13,000 a day, 6 minutes per case, that's about $165 per case. At this rate, we're charging $7.50 a month. So the cost savings are pretty tremendous for that bulk subscription. And then the third way is, as Colin will tell you, we can integrate with a like a company like Tyler. We can integrate with a company like Court Innovations, Matterhorn, or the like, Thomson Reuters, etc. Or we can integrate with a homegrown system. It would be a more custom integration, which we could certainly explore. We're working with a couple of indigenous peoples to create a specific culture-centric version of the platform. So I just want to get that out of the way real quickly so that you have an understanding of what we do, how we work, and who it's for. Quick background about me. As Colin said, I am hysterical. See? Look how funny. Everybody's laughing on the phone. So a quick background with me. I spent 25 years in the entertainment and media business. I was executive vice president of Shazam, and I was there and part of the executive team who brought that company from $500 million to $1 billion unicorn. Building the entertainment and media practice. Before that, I was in the I ran a global association. It was a nonprofit association similar to the Emmys, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, producing big conferences and events and award shows all over the world. But my real mission is I was a turnaround person, and I used to build new products and build new value for organizations. About 6 years ago, I started going through a pretty terrible litigated divorce, and I got a front row seat to see just how tough the system can be for people like me going through it. And as bad as it was for me, it was devastating for our kids who for 4.5 years, watched their parents go through a system that ultimately spit them out way worse off than we were when we went in. And I remembered sitting there in the gallery, surrounded by 75, 80 other people, and two things struck me. Number one, we were all fundamentally fighting about basically the same thing. Different volumes, different velocities of anger and frustration, but really we were there fighting about co-parenting issues, not legal issues. Number two, and as it turns out, 80% of what people argue about in and out of court are co-parenting issues, not legal issues. Number two, there weren't a lot of lawyers in the room. And as we all know, 85% of us are self-represented, which means two things. Number one, we're clogging up a system that's built to resolve legal disputes when we're clogging it up with our co-parenting business. And number two, it meant that we did not have somebody there to let us know that not only are we in an inappropriate venue, but that court is not the place where judges should be making parenting decisions. Right? And beyond parenting, 75% of what people argue about, 75% of civil cases are for awards less than $5,000. Also, not worth the time. So I connected with former California presiding judge Cheryl Ellsworth, who spent 20 years on the bench, 10 years in family law, and 10 years as an administrator. And as an administrator, she was growing more and more and more frustrated with knuckleheads like me clogging up the court system with non-legal co-parenting issues, while issues of genuine legal substance were unfortunately pushed to the side. So we teamed up, and we teamed up with our third partner, Eric Weiss, who comes from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and education technology. And we set out to create a system, not that would just merely digitize an existing process, but would provide tools to parents, to users, to help them optimize their relationship, right? Just for context, we don't define co-parenting as an absence of conflict. Anybody who's a parent, whether you're married or not, knows conflict is normal in a co-parenting relationship. It's how it's dealt with that's the problem. What we do, we define co-parenting as the optimal way to raise kids in multiple homes.
Cyberweek.
What? Oh.
I don't know. That was a hiccup there, but
that was
just
weird.
keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like a total recall move. what we define co-parenting as an optimal way to raise kids in multiple homes, which when you consider separation, divorce, never married parents, which represents 48% of children born in America today, foster, kids being raised by multiple family members. It's the way the vast majority of children are being raised in this country, and that trend is not settling down, it's speeding up. Now I'm going to send you guys, I'm going to send everybody a link to a segment that was on the Today Show. Should I do that now and give everybody a minute to take a look at it?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Put it in the chat.
Oh, now I lost it again. Hold on. Stop share. Stop share. Chat.
I will say, I'll editorialize while Jonathan.
Okay.
One of the things, obviously, you can see, Jonathan.
Sorry, I just sent it. Everybody, I sent the link. Click on the link.
Yeah.
And take a look at that
everybody's
video.
muted, so they can go listen to it, and it won't interrupt. We won't be listening to 10 copies of it playing. But that is an amazing video. That is, I think, maybe that is the #1 most impressive mainstream video explaining the value of an ODR platform that I've ever seen, you know, on the Today Show. So that's a huge coup that you got that. But Jonathan,
and we were just actually on we were on CNBC.
Yeah,
yesterday.
tell us about that.
Oh, we were on CNBC. So we were on the money with Becky Quick. You know, and you know, obviously On the Money is a financial show. It's like a consumer-focused financial show, helping people make better decisions with their money. Wow. And if you want to make a bad decision, go to court and fight about co-parenting stuff. Spend up to, you know, the average $30,000. Yes.
They're saying that it requires permission.
I thought I gave permission. What?
Go check it out and make sure that it's.
All right, tell you what, I'm going to follow up with another. Hold on. Here we go. I was trying to get it to you without commercials. So how about this? Hey, Jeff Aresti. Love it. All right, here we go. That's on the Today Show. That'll be a 15-second commercial. So that will definitely work.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the key challenges, it's funny, in the dispute resolution field, I feel like for the last 20 years, people have been saying, how can we get our message across? How can we get our message across? And the fact is, the language that we use and the way we frame a lot of this stuff just doesn't resonate with our customers. They don't know what mediation is. They think it's meditation. They don't know what arbitration is. They don't understand, you know, it's all confusing. But the way that this is framed, and I think, again, it's testimonial to have someone say, look, I used this tool and it was really helpful to me. I mean, that's what we need more of in getting the word out here. I just think it's great. I want to see the CNBC clip. I don't know if that's online too. I should go see if I can find it.
It sure is, and I'll send it out. I'll send it out afterwards so that everybody can see it. I'll let everybody, you know, take a look at that video. We'll watch it if you like. On should I just keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. All right. So real quickly about me or about sort of the approach to this. Everybody on this
Jonathan,
call,
we lost your slides. Can you share your slides again?
Of course you did. Okay.
Great. See it back again.
So there's you know, a good 15, 16, 17 people on this call, and my guess is, like Colin, like Yvette, like Jeff, you guys are all court professionals, meaning you have been working in or working for the courts for your career. There's probably some, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 years of combined expertise on this call, focused on bringing, you know, making courts better, more effective, more efficient. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the people on this call, especially those in ODR, the focus is on optimizing efficiency in the court system so that more so that the court resources, the human resources, can be used more efficiently. The focus has been on time and cost efficiency while delivering procedural justice, while following the process and procedure of the court. My background's a little different. My background is in marketing. My focus has always been on the products and services that actual end users engage with and that they actually use day to day. That means that my focus has been on solutions, end user solutions. So when you're developing ODR internally for a court, or you're developing ODR externally and selling it to a court, the client, the customer, the end user is that court, which means you have to have a focus on bringing value to that customer, to that end client and customer, whether you work for them yourself or whether you're selling to them. Our tool goes beyond, our approach goes beyond that. Our approach is specifically on the end user, how they engage with products, how they engage with products and services. So I've been studying demographics for the last, so I've been studying millennials since they were tweeting in vitro. We have moved so far beyond millennials. We're looking at how Gen Z, we're going deep on how Gen Z engages with products and services. But my focus has been on user behavior, how people engage with, interact with, and embrace different products and services, and the evolution of that through the year. Let me get real specific about how different that approach is. There was a study done out of Canada just a few years ago that focused on the definition of access to justice. And unsurprisingly, when they surveyed court professionals, the answers were very consistent. More lawyers, more courts, more judges, more legal aid, faster time to trial. But when you ask the public, what is their definition of access to justice? It's a right to a good life. Very simple. And in the context of family and family law, access to justice means helping families thrive. So that's the difference in approach between how we, between ODR and IDR. ODR, there's been incredible strides made, incredible evolution. I mean, the stuff that, Modria is doing, I mean, it's really absolutely phenomenal, the stuff that's going on, both, from in private and public. And ODR is great for improving efficiency to the court and access to the court process. It's great at digitizing that process. But intelligent dispute resolution, IDR, is distinct. We help people manage their complex relationships over time, including resolving disputes when they come up. So it's not just digitizing that paper process. It's not just digitizing disputes that are either in or are absolutely headed to court. It's about helping those people in those complex relationships keep their relationship in context, keep those relationships optimized, and keep them out of unnecessary litigation where they can get hurt. Because we all know that a court is not the place where parenting decisions should be made. We know that when you put kids first, when you focus on the needs of the child, parents typically will avoid that unnecessary litigation. When I was going through my divorce in LA, we didn't have ODR. It wasn't even a thing. What we did have were tools that were typically marketed to judges that would do things like document communication, right? We all know that there are tools or technologies or websites out there that document communication. That's fine when you are trying to empower a judge to make a transactional decision. It is not fine when you are trying to help parents develop the skills for effective co-parenting and really stay out of unnecessary litigation, right? We define co-parenting not as an absence of conflict, but as an optimized way to raise kids in multiple homes. Because when parents do end up in court, their kids are exposed to ongoing conflict, and we know that that's bad for kids and families. We know that prolonged exposure to conflict is the second most prominent adverse childhood experience in the list of 10 ACEs. And we also know that high conflict divorce is causal of most of the others. But here's the good news. It's the only adverse childhood experience that we can actually do something about. And that's what our platform is designed to do, is to eliminate high conflict divorce from the list of adverse childhood experiences. So our tool is intelligent dispute resolution, tools that help optimize relationships with communication, scheduling, calendars, data sharing, etc. Access to an on-demand mediator or coach to help triage, diagnose, and ultimately resolve disputes safely, quickly, legally, and without involvement of court resources. And number three, underpinning it all is technology that learns not just how people fall into dispute, but how those resolved so that we can start to predict and prevent future disputes from happening. Cool? By the way, nothing new. This is not a new concept. For the vast majority of time that human beings have been on this planet, we have been resolving disputes in a way that fosters reconciliation and emotional closure, right? We've been living in these traditional societies for the vast amount of time that we've been on this planet. We've been living in bands and tribes and in chiefdoms where we all know each other. Our families know each other, our communities know each other, we know each other by name, by sight. Even in the larger chiefdoms where there are tens of thousands of people, we all kind of know each other, and there's a vested interest in keeping society in check and intact and focused on moving forward. So when it came to dispute resolution, the focus was on emotional closure. It was about fostering civility in these relationships and delivering justice in a way that helped society thrive and keep going. It wasn't until more recently when we've organized ourselves into a state structure where there's, because there are so many people, most of whom don't know each other, we've had to create a very different structure. And there's one organization, the state, that has the monopoly on the delivery of and access to justice. They also own the monopoly on violence, which means that they can keep people in compliance for the justice that they've delivered. So now we have a system that thrives on efficiency. So in order to thrive on efficiency, everything needs to be distilled into as transactional a decision as possible. Easy to do when you're talking about tickets, small claims, a personal injury, those kinds of things where it's a one and done, where people who have the conflict, who don't know each other, have that conflict resolved, there's a transaction, and then they go on not knowing each other. But when people are in complex relationships, when we bring them into a court system that forces them to distill decisions down to a transactional decision, when we get them to collect the evidence against each other so that a judge can make as efficient a decision as possible, we are ultimately hurting those relationships and the people who they impact, right? Nobody wants to deprive anybody of getting justice, but efficiency becomes the factor as volume in societies rise. So, you know, our justice system now is focused on collecting the evidence so that somebody, a judge, can make a decision who is right, who is wrong, who wins, who loses. Again, okay in tickets, not the best when it comes to people who have a relationship that they all have an interest in maintaining over time. So for us, it starts with a plan. And the earlier we get with people, the earlier that users start using co-parenter, the better. We help them create a parenting plan. For those of you that don't know, a parenting plan is the foundational agreement about the kids. And for the courts, it's typically the final thing that they give people before they send them on their way, right? It's where the kid's going to stay on any given night, a holiday and vacation plan, and ground rules of engagement about how we're going to operate our co-parenting relationship, right? I'm not going to smoke in front of the kids. I'm not going to talk bad about you in front of them, that kind of really basic foundational stuff. And of course, we know that there are three ways to get a parenting plan. You can try and work it out with your ex. You can hire a lawyer, mediator, or therapist, which is going to be expensive and it's going to take some time. Or you can get in line and go to the court and have a judge tell you what your parenting plan is, right? And again, for the courts, this is where they kind of, you know, they wipe their hands and they say, okay, now you've got a plan, go ahead and live. For us, it's the beginning. Because as anybody who has kids knows, where the kids are sleeping on any given night is not the stuff that keeps you up at night. It's the ongoing parenting that really is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to co-parenting. So we make it very, very easy to make clear, concise, brief requests. Co-parent one, let me just actually back up a sec. So the way that we create the parenting plan is, and we have judges who, you know, who order people to go out into the hall and start creating a parenting plan right away when they show up empty-handed. The parents can download the app, start creating their proposed parenting plan. They, you know, co-parent one can be in one room, another parent can go down the hall, down the street to the restaurant. They can work on it concurrently or asynchronously, and they can put in their plan. The system will tell them where they already agree and where they don't agree. Where they don't agree, well, where they do agree, there's no arguing. Typically, by the way, about 80% of the stuff they agree to off the bat. Anybody who's been in any kind of ADR situation where you're sitting around a table with people who hate each other and took the day off of work and have been stressed out for 8 weeks before the court date know when they're across the table from each other, they don't agree on anything. But when we give them this tool, they can agree on the vast majority of stuff. So our system will tell them where they agree and where they don't. And where they don't, we connect them with a live mediator who can help them work out the rest. And of course, if they really can't get there, they can always go to court. But then they're showing up to court with 90% of their parenting plan done, and a judge just has to make a couple of quick decisions rather than starting at the beginning. And again, that just gets them out the door. That just gets their, that's day one, hour one of co-parenting. Then we help them with day-to-day life, swapping weekends, making holiday requests, picking, making a decision about how much TV or how much screen time they should be spending at each, who's going to be planning the birthday party, whether I can take the kids to visit my grandparents in Vancouver or Mexico, right? So I make a very concise request through the app. Everything is automated through bots and automation, right? So there's no live human who needs to get involved with this. We extract this structured data and create a very simple to understand request, a proposal. And co-parent 2 can accept or decline. If they accept, everything is taken care of in the background, right? If I've requested, I want to sign the kids up for soccer lessons on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. It's going to cost $100 and I want you to pay 30% of it, and you accept, everything's taken care of in the background. All of the stuff is put into your calendar and synchronized, and a ticket comes up for you to pay for that expense. If it's a travel request, I want to take the kids to Vancouver, the itinerary is put into both of your calendars, a reminder for the passports for international travel is put in, and an automated letter of authorization is sent to both parents, so you don't have to worry about the other stuff that comes along with that request. So we're predicting and preventing those conflicts from happening in the first place, right? Now, if either party says no or declines the request, they can be connected with a live mediator to help them resolve that dispute, come up with an agreement that they can both live with. And one thing I just want to quickly mention, this week we launched, and I know it's live because I played with it this morning, the ability for one user to use the platform, whether the other person is a subscriber or not. The implications for that are profound. And Colin, I know you mentioned something last week when we were together in Williamsburg. The ability for one parent to use this with a high conflict person, the implications for that on peaceful contact in DV cases and probation cases is profound. We have jurisdictions using co-parenter as it is today with no modifications as a tool to manage probation out in Idaho. An entire probation department using it. So there's so many different ways to use the existing tool for different scenarios, and happy to discuss in more depth if anybody wishes after the call. Ultimately, we're helping people optimize their ongoing everyday relationship. And as the tool gets better, we'll start better and smarter as we learn all of these different ways, all of these different issues that come up and the way people resolve them, we'll be able to automate a lot of that process through AI. Of course, the tool stops you from sending F-bombs and bad words to each other. Of course, it stops you from calling each other names or phrases that will offend the other person and or get you in trouble later on. We're starting to layer in sentiment analysis so that the system will learn how party 2 responds to party 1 and make recommendations on more optimal ways to communicate. So for example, every time I send Colin a whatever in all caps and he loses it, the system will start to recognize that, hey, if you're looking for a more positive outcome, try wording it this way instead. It'll be more elegant than but that's effectively how sentiment analysis will work. We help people keep on time. One of the most common issues that people face in and out of court is that perpetually late parent. Again, being late for pickup or drop off is very disrespectful, and it's frustrating as anybody can imagine. But it is not illegal until the 7th or 8th time that couple comes back to court complaining about that same issue, and the judge, but for $13,000 a day, and the judge finally says, okay, I'm going to make this non-legal issue a legal one. And from now on, you're going to drop the kids off at McDonald's, you're going to go inside, you're going to buy a French fries, you're going to keep the receipt, you're going to bring it back to court, so that the next time you're here, I can see the time and date stamp on that receipt that you can prove that you were where you said you'd be when you said you'd be there. Number one, that teaches people bad eating habits, unless they're particularly healthy French fries. Number two, it tells that couple they are coming back to court. The exact opposite of what we're trying to do. It does nothing to teach them better behavior or help them learn on their own better behavior. It teaches them how to come back to court. And number three, it further reinforces the benefits of gathering evidence against each other and proliferating conflict and acrimony, right? Those three things. What we do is you arrive for pickup, you check in. Your co-parent gets a notification. It's a non-trackable pin drop that you're where you said you'd be when you said you'd be there. When they get there, they check in. Those two things, they resolve. If you're late, there's a record of it. That's it. What people are also using this for is to document their parenting time. So when they have a conflict about a child support, they have a record of how much time they spent with their child, an accurate record, time and date stamp. We document their, we keep their lives organized, right? So obviously all of the kids' information there, where they go to school, who their doctor is, their health insurance card. You know, one of the big things is these low-level power struggle issues where one parent doesn't want to share the health card with the other parent just to make things more complicated. We remove that friction. So everything is synchronized, their ID, their information, their school and doctor information, all of that. We help keep a record of all the expenses, both discretionary and non-discretionary expenses. Right now, we don't have the ability to transfer money, but that's on the roadmap, and we expect that to be in the next few months, being able to actually make transfers of child, spousal, equalization payments, and expense reimbursements. And of course, you can upload all of your documentation, your divorce decree, your filings, and all the rest. Now, we've obviously moved away from that traditional society that I was talking about earlier, where we all know each other and live in communities. We've moved into the state society. And I think we're moving past that modern society into a virtual society where we're all connected, but we're connected through our cell phones. This is normal stuff. Love it or hate it, this is how people engage now. So we've created a community of well over 50,000 people through various platforms. We have a content library that's 1,500 individual items. We work with everybody from Karen Bonnell and Bill Eddy and anybody involved in the divorce, separation, high conflict. But we also hire a stable of writers who really focus on that very consumer focused editorial. And even when we're dealing with Bill Eddy and Karen Bonnell and the other, and Michael and Colin, and when we're like, these are very, very smart people, but the average person has a 5th grade reading level. So we distill those pieces of content down to something that's consumable in 3 to 5 minutes and make it more pleasurable to read. What judges love about this is that we're inadvertently, or I should say, we're in a way, educating people on best practices in co-parenting, helping people understand how other folks in their exact situation have resolved the exact disputes that they're dealing with. So it's all searchable. There's lots of video, and it's all on our website on coparenter.com, or it's all in the app as well, so you can see it all there. And look, if people go to court, and I will say that 85% of our users who are ordered to use this tool from the court never end up going back. 85% of them never end up returning to court to argue about co-parenting issues. But if they do end up in court, with one swipe, all of their content is made available and they can submit it into evidence. All of their transcripts of communication, their pickups and drop-offs, all of the agreements that they've made with and without the help of an on-demand mediator, all of their journal entries that they've entered. All of that stuff is simply and easily exportable as a PDF and submitted into evidence as they wish. And if they're going to court, why wouldn't we make this an easy transition into an elegant litigant portal? And this is fundamentally what we're talking about here. A consumer platform. We already have their data. We already have their information. We already have the context of their relationship. And making that transition from citizen to litigant, and in 85% of the cases, self-represented litigant, making that transition simple, easy, and even elegant. Why wouldn't we do that? So we could have, so that's what I say, we can integrate with a Tyler or another case management system or a homegrown system where we can have that bi-directional transfer of information so that right in the palm of their hand, they're up to date and up to speed on everything having to do with their case. Files that have come in, files that are requiring their attention, upcoming dates and changes, fees and resources that are available to them. And why, and certainly making it simple to transition into a court-connected ODR system where that sort of ODR court process starts to take over. So intelligent dispute resolution is tools that optimize complex relationships, blended with on-demand mediators, coaches, or subject matter experts, underpinned with technology that learns how people not only fall into disputes, but how they're resolved, so that we can do a better job of predicting and preventing future conflicts from happening. So again, we're $12.99 a month. It includes on-demand, unlimited on-demand mediation. We've resolved well over 10,000 disputes and created 7,800 parenting plans. This is already a few weeks old, so it's a heck of a lot more than that. Our elapsed time to resolution is 20 minutes. Typically, it happens asynchronously, so that could take 2 or 3 days. A parenting plan, most of it is automated, and a lot of people use our automated self-serve tool. But even when you use an on-demand mediator, it takes about 2 hours to create a parenting plan. In elapsed time, it usually takes about 2 weeks in total. And we have a 90% retention rate, which means that if you started with us in April, there's a 90% chance that you're still with us, or 90% of our users are still with us. So, very high retention, which speaks to the how people are using it, and they really are using it and keeping themselves out of conflict, optimizing their relationship so that they can focus on what really matters most, which is their kids. If we can help parents develop the skills, if we can give them the tools that they need to diagnose whether they even have a legal issue, resolve disputes, co-parenting disputes before they become in-court conflicts, and if they do end up in court and with a conflict, make that transition easy and elegant, something that decreases the stress, then we're doing a good job of making sure that kids and families stay intact and reverse that generational health crisis that we've created by forcing complex family relationships through the court system. So
love it. Wow.
Is it.
Amazing. Does anybody have any questions for Jonathan? I definitely have some couple of things I want to raise, but I don't want to step on people's toes. I know Yvette asked, have you done this in Spanish?
Great question, Yvette. Not as yet. Right now we are all English, unfortunately. Ooh, yeah, I like that ringer. So we right now are English only. We are actively looking for a partner to work with who would be interested in localizing this into Spanish. If we had a partner, we could do this. We could localize it in, I don't want to get too crazy, but in under 6 weeks.
Wow. 6 weeks. That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute Nicholas because it looks like I'm taking the host back so I can mute him. All right, that should get the background noise. So that's amazing. 6 weeks? That's really incredibly fast because there's so much content in your system.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's structured in such a way that it makes that kind of
That's right.
localization
Yeah. I
easy.
mean, not every single article would be translated in 6 weeks, but
No,
the
no, no, no.
fundamentals of the tool
They'd be
and getting
there.
up and running with a Spanish-speaking mediator, a network of Spanish-speaking mediators. We've got, I'm sure that one of the questions are going to be, and I'll wait for it to be asked, where do we find our mediators and how are they trained? We have, Spanish-speaking mediators ready to go. We're looking for a partner, a funded partner who wants to bring this and make this into a Spanish-speaking app. We'll work with them. For us, as you know, Colin, we're right now it's about doing this in a way that's that's efficient and makes sense for everybody. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and there's only a certain amount of days you have to do work, and I'm sure there's a lot of new features and things you need to build in. But if the opportunity emerges, Yvette says, count me in. So I think you already got one. And also Lisa, who was here for the whole presentation, a couple people had to drop out, but they're putting very complimentary things. I mean, Diego said it's a brilliant presentation. And Lisa said, it sounds like a great program with automated mediation, blind offers, live action time tagging, etc. Please tell him I wish him the best of luck. And Lisa has a lot of experience because this is what she focuses on. So that's great to hear. One of the things that I've told you before, first of all, the first thing that I really glommed onto, Jonathan, you're probably not surprised by this, is your litigant portal piece. Because I think it's very interesting to think about using the co-parenter tool set and then moving into a court context, and how do you grease the skids to make that a painless process so that you have an interface where all that information is just carried over. I think the court experience is such a confusing, disruptive experience, particularly for, as you said, 80+% are self-represented litigants. For you to be able to build in your incredible interface a structure that can make that court process navigable and make it seamless from the tool that they've been using, I mean, that's cold fusion. I mean, that's going to be a big, big breakthrough, and it's a huge advantage for somebody to use this platform, even if they do end up back in court. So, I mean, I do agree with you that that's something that I think Tyler and a lot of big companies are going to be very interested in, because it's tricky to do that, to intermediate all that complexity in such a way that makes the process navigable for users.
I appreciate that, Colin. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, and you and I have chatted about this quite a lot over the last couple of years. When your client, whether it's because they're your actual boss or because you sell them stuff and are dependent on them for generating sales.
Sure.
When your client is the court, you're going to listen to what the court wants and what the court needs.
Right.
And the court wants and the court needs efficiency. They've never been known to excel at delivering elegant end user experiences.
Right.
That's not their business. It's not what they do. If they do, of course, there are amazing people, coming out of Stanford and Margot and all the rest. There are people who are doing things to make those court products and court tools and court services, better looking and a little more user friendly. But the key stakeholder is the court, and that's never going to change. Right. We've been focused on that end user, and we understand how they navigate and how they use, and making that transition from a consumer experience and making it seamless into a very complex, admittedly complex court environment.
Yeah.
As easy and seamless and elegant as possible is really the name of the game.
Yeah, and Diego asked, how many of the users of the app end up in court? And it sounds like it's a relatively small sliver of your user base that actually ends up back in court, because they're able to manage the issues in such a way that it keeps them out of court. But what's the answer to that question? Yeah,
85% of our users self-report that they no longer use. These are people coming out of the court system, so they've been ordered onto the platform by a judge.
Sure.
They self-report that they no longer use court to resolve those co-parenting issues anymore.
Right.
They are, and these are very often frequent flyers. These are people who the judge knows on the first name basis, and they're being ordered to use.
Absolutely.
Those.
Well, so, and let me just say, there's a note of skepticism, because having spent a lot of time working in the court, and you made this point very clearly, because I think this is a distinction you draw between IDR and ODR. The courts are not in the business of delighting their litigants. You know, the court process is not set up to be a delight experience, where co-parenter is. Co-parenter, I mean, your end users are paying you for the service because they love it. It makes their lives easier. It, you know, gets rid of friction points. All the information is centralized. I mean, you document very clearly why it's of such benefit to the users to pay that amount per month so they get access to the tool. But once you push that button and you go to the court, and I know this is coming soon, so you're still kind of thinking through this. Are you, even with a beautiful user experience and all of your, you know, your great marketing wrapper around this, are you going to be able to turn the court experience into a delight experience? Or is there going to be real cognitive dissonance once you flip that switch and go to the court? Because that's kind of an ugly, painful process. And it doesn't matter, you know, you can put a nice user experience on it. The other thing is, again, if I'm going through and I'm using this tool in good faith and I'm communicating with my co-parent and we're figuring out who's going to pay for this and who's going to handle the pickup from trombone lessons and blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden we go to court and then all of that information is piped into the court. I mean, I wonder about that too. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was using this tool for, you know, to minimize conflict and to make the lives of my kids better. And now it's almost like, you know, the creepy Facebook and Google, they're collecting so much data on me. And now we go into the court and then all that data is provided to the court. And then I realize, well, why would I, you know, why did I give all this information? You know, I mean, maybe I missed a couple pickups. You know, that might have gotten lost in the shuffle, but now it's all documented in this platform. And now that's going to come back to haunt me. You know,
so I don't. So you know, it's an interest. That's an interesting perspective. You know, what we have found is that, you know, look, number one, when people mediate, when they're in mediation, all of the settlement language, that entire process is confidential. There's no way to export it. There's no access to it. Once the agreement is reached and there's a double opt-in to agree to what you've agreed to, there's no way to access that that settlement language.
Okay.
However, the agreement that you ultimately made absolutely is accessible.
That makes sense.
It's something that, you know, if you end up in court because you said you would pay 50% of trombones lessons and you stiffed me, then I can produce an agreement that we've made with a time and date stamp, biometric thumbprint, and you know, there's kind of not a lot of wiggle room there about whether that agreement it's a double opt-in.
Yeah.
So you're right. You know, for people who do end up in court, yes, the agreements that they've made, as you know, in good faith to raise their kids and put their kids first, are accessible.
Yeah.
What's also accessible is the attempts to resolve disputes outside of the court context.
Right.
So if I show up to court and I say, you know, I want to take the kids to Vancouver and my flight is tomorrow and I've been asking for 3 months and here are all the records of me making this attempt and all the records of her ignoring that or not participating, then that plays that has weight when, you know, when judges are saying, well, why wouldn't you, you know, at least engage? Like, why are you forcing this person to use court resources to resolve something that is so easily resolvable outside of court? So
well, I could see that. If I have a track record, if I've got a co-parent who's slow playing me and not responding, and I have a platform that can document that, that would be in my interest. Yep. But if I'm the one who's slow playing, I could see how that would not be in my interest. You know?
So if you're being a jerk, you don't want to get caught?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. If I miss the pickups. You know, actually,
we're eliminating that.
Stop sharing your screen and put your video back on, because I just want to take a couple questions in our waning minutes, and I think it's much more compelling when they can actually see you. Does that work?
The video? Sure.
Yeah, like your video camera.
Oh, I see.
Is that okay?
Camera. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Luca asked, while you're doing that, Luca asked, you know, what are you doing to protect the sensitive data in your system from cyber attacks?
Sure. So this is a technical question that I would definitely push off to my partner Eric and our CTO Niels Hansen. I know we're back-ended on Google, so you would have to hack Google to hack us. All my partners, both Eric and Niels, have been working in the education technology field for years and years. Security and privacy has always been their number one concern, and they are, you know, best of breed technologists. You know, so I can't answer the specifics, but I can certainly circle back with you if you wish.
Classic marketer, you know, go get security certified. So Luca says he has tons of questions. Jonathan, can I contact you directly via email?
Of course.
I presume you'd be okay with that. Do you want to can you type your email into the chat?
Absolutely.
So that people can contact you. The other thing that I would point out is I really think that you guys do a great job with respondent engagement. And that's one of the trickiest things in ODR, because you usually have one motivated party that really wants to use the tool and they really want to do get resolutions, and then the other party, they're like, they're just dragging their feet constantly. So I love that you can actually have one party pay for the platform, and then the respondent can just participate via text. They don't have to install anything. It really makes it easy for them to participate. And
so, I mean, I'm really excited about it because when I saw you in Williamsburg, Colin, it had not yet launched, and I had seen our dev, like I saw a dev version of it.
Yeah,
it was super amazing. It's 10 times better than what I had even seen when I saw you. So the idea is, I'm a subscriber. My ex won't subscribe. They don't even need to know I'm on the app. I mean, it is that seamless.
Really?
Yeah. You don't even need to, I don't ever have to tell you I'm even on the app. It's just documenting my life. I can access on-demand coaching. I can check in for pickups and drop-offs. I can, I have all the database, everything that I need.
That's amazing.
And when I send you a message, you receive it as a text. When you respond, it gets pulled back into my app,
into the system.
Time and date stamped, all of it. And as of this week, and now it's all updated. I can initiate a mediation, an actual mediation. I can invite you to the mediation, and you'll be mediating over text effectively.
Wow. Yeah. See, I don't know of any other platforms that enable parties to do mediation entirely over text. So
everything's documented. The agreement it's seamless.
Cool.
You as the non-subscriber, I'm not going to pretend that it's a great user experience if court is your your benchmark.
The benchmark.
But if you're using the app, it's a phenomenal experience, totally seamless. Your agreements are already there. If you're not using the app, you get you get a write-up of the agreement, but you're not it's not a like apples to apples experience, which is the incentive. We want people to subscribe and use it.
Absolutely. So I know we're waning minutes here. Does anybody have any comments? You want to unmute and ask a question? I definitely have more I can talk to Jonathan about. Well, I would just say Jeff Aresti in the comments, he made a comment about, and Jeff did make another comment. He said, that video and your marketing materials and your user experience and the deck is perfect example of how the lawyers are going to lose all of this case volume, because they don't have the skills that you have in terms of communicating this message and talking to customers in language that they understand. I think that this is a skill that lawyers never really had to have because they had a monopoly before. They were the only ones who could do this work. But now, as the system liberalizes, that message that you're putting out there is far more compelling than, oh, hey, let's go see a divorce attorney. I mean, I think it's going to be very, very hard for lawyers to compete with the sophistication of the platform you put together.
Colin, can I respond for just one sec here? So the tool that our mediators use to deliver services, right? It's a professional interface. It's a browser-based interface.
Yeah.
The private practitioner community is clamoring to get in on this.
Totally.
Because now, right now, most of the, legal tech investment and most of that focus is going towards case management and optimizing that billable hour, right? Mm-hmm. So you get 3 hours, you're able to do what you do in 3 hours into one. Now you've got to go out and build 2 hours worth of business if you're a private practitioner. Mm-hmm. Our tool doesn't do that. Our tool creates three new revenue streams for lawyers, mediators, and therapists. Right. Number one, you can start to provide what we in the sector called unbundled services, what the consumer community calls productized services.
Sure.
If you need a parenting plan, I can't pay you $300 an hour with no end in sight, but I can pay you $500 for a parenting plan. Mm-hmm. And so our system helps you do that. You can respond and react and provide service to people in between your normal meetings, right?
Yeah.
So you can be on the go and you can have that work-life balance as a private practitioner. And my favorite one is being able to offer subscription services. So now, instead of your three-hour sessions to knock out a parenting plan, you do your three-hour sessions, and then you do a 1 year of, $300 a month, where you're on call and you have that context for their relationship. And instead of calling you up 5 months after the parenting plan's done and everything seemed okay, and now you're back in conflict, you spend 2 hours getting up and running with, where they are in their relationship.
Yeah.
With this tool, you're right in the context and everything is right there, easy to access.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's a real opportunity for value-added reselling too, because I think it would be amazing. One of the things that Dino Hormonas said in Williamsburg is we should deputize, ministers and rabbis and social workers. They should all be able to provide support for divorcing couples. But if they say, hey, look, we have this tool and it's available through your shul, and then you can go and, install it and download it, use it, and then a portion of the revenue goes back to your temple. I mean, I think that would be
doing that. We're doing that, Colin.
Yeah,
we're absolutely doing that. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
And then it's like a service provided. So there are a couple more questions. Let's deal with these, and then we'll wrap it because I know we're at time. So Jeff made a bunch of good points, and he's got a lot of firsthand experience with this. But Francesca said, do you think the platform could be applied to even more complex cases like criminal cases? And Diego asked, you have international cases. Is that something you've thought about?
So probably our biggest deployment is in British Columbia and Alberta. Our biggest sort of government condoned deployment. So BC and Alberta in Canada. We haven't gone international, but there is a lot of interest. We have to stay focused on we're still technically a startup. And so, we need to stay focused on the task at hand. So we're staying local right now. If a international jurisdiction wanted to bring us there, and the project was funded, we would definitely, do it.
Think about
it. Right now, we've limited our App Store downloads to North America.
Well, and Diego talks about cross-border cases. I just wrote an article about this with Jan Martinez and Susan Yates. Sometimes you have one parent in one country and one parent in another country. That's a perfect fit for a tool like this. Even more so.
Yeah, we have tons of people. We have tons of deployed. We have a lot of people who use our app who are deployed. So we see flare-ups in Afghanistan.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the military buying this and providing it to parents. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to respect your time, but this was great, Jonathan. I think you can see from the comments, people are just raving about this. I mean, this really blows people's minds when they see a platform that's as sophisticated as this. And I think people are really going to enjoy seeing the recording as well. And I'll put the link up next to your name in the agenda so they can go look at the Today Show video, because I think that's a real mind blower.
I'll send you the CNBC stuff too.
Yeah,
there was also a cool article that just came out a couple of weeks ago in the Times of London called "Rise of the Robot Mediators." It was in the.
I saw that. Yeah, that's great. Well, sometimes I think that we're going to talk about that on Friday too. This whole idea of the robo mediator. I think that's a little bit overblown. But I think this is the way people want to resolve their problems.
Exactly.
They don't want to be put in the sausage machine of the courts. And once they realize at scale that options like this are available, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. Round of applause, Mr. Verk.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. My email's in there if you want to get in touch, and I'll circle back with the people on this call, and if anyone wants the deck or wants some more information, do a demo, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. Okay, take care. Have a good night, everybody. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.